The council made its decision in silence. There were no drums of war, no grand declarations, no attempt at negotiation. Just a vote. 10 hands raised, 3 lowered. Majority secured. A single phrase sealed humanity's fate. The species of Terra is to be removed. They are an anomaly. They are a threat. Orders were dispatched with the casual efficiency of bureaucrats signing away an expendable resource. Fleets already in orbit were diverted. Weapons were armed. On that day, human colonies, sprawling worlds of children, families, engineers, dreamers, looked up to see the horizon filled with fire. The aliens called it a necessary pruning. Over 50,000 civilians died in the opening strikes. Hospitals vaporized before they could evacuate. Refuge ships cut down mid-ascent. Cities reduced to blackened glass. And the Council's representatives, observing from orbit, spoke into their secure channels with detached satisfaction. Humanity will not rise again. They will whimper. They will submit. They will vanish, forgotten. They were wrong. The Feast of Arrogance. In the aftermath of the slaughter, the victors gathered. Across the galactic capital, holoscreens replayed the annihilation as entertainment. Council envoys drank amber liquors and mocked the footage. They joked about the primitive mammals scattering like insects. Did you see how their colony ships fled? Like frightened vermin. All their technology, yet they scream like animals. A short-lived species. What arrogance they had to sit among us. The vote was called righteous. Some even praised it as merciful. A quick extermination, sparing the galaxy centuries of trouble. They congratulated themselves, convinced their strike had broken the will of a young and fragile species. Humanity, they said, had always clung to its absurd ideals. Patience, dialogue, restraint. Surely now, Earth would understand its place. Surely now Terra would bow, trembling, to the inevitability of galactic law. But they mistook silence for surrender. The silence before the storm weeks passed. No retaliation came. No human fleets emerged. No envoys screamed at the injustice. Just silence. The Council congratulated itself again. They have accepted their fate, they told one another. The Terrans are already broken. But in the quiet corners of the galaxy, strange reports began to surface. Freight convoys vanished without a trace. Recon stations near human borders stopped transmitting. Patrol fleets went missing, their last comms nothing but static. Still, the Council dismissed the rumors. Mammals cannot strike us. They are too few, too weak, too cowardly. They had forgotten the lesson every predator on Earth had learned over millennia. Humans wait. Humans endure. Humans bide their time until the knife can be driven the deepest. The first omen. The first public sign came not in words, but in fire. On the rim world of Theris, a celebration was held, the commemoration of the human colony's destruction. Thousands gathered in stadiums, drinking and cheering as footage of Earth's burned settlements looped on screens. Midway through the broadcast, the feeds distorted. Static crawled across every channel. The crowd laughed, thinking it a glitch. Then a human voice cut through, calm, steady, merciless. We have heard the vote. We have seen your verdict. You chose our extinction. Now, we choose yours. The transmission ended, and every orbital shipyard above Theris detonated simultaneously. The planet's sky became a crown of fire, as falling wreckage turned celebrations into funerals. Millions died in hours. That was the first omen. The awakening of Earth, the galaxy soon learned. Earth had not been idle. Beneath their oceans, in hidden shipyards cloaked from Council surveillance, dreadnoughts the size of mountains stirred, hulls black as obsidian, engines burning with silent fury. On Luna, titanic cannons the Council had thought ceremonial rumbled to life, loading projectiles capable of tearing moons in half. Mars, long dismissed as a failing colony, revealed vast foundries hidden beneath its deserts, entire fleets constructed in silence. And when the first human fleets moved, they did not announce themselves with diplomacy. They did not offer peace. Their comms carried only a single phrase: patience ended. The shattering response, it began at the frontier. Council fleets patrolling the neutral zones found themselves ambushed by vessels unlike any ever recorded. Human warships, sleek, brutal, efficient, did not fight like other species. They did not duel honorably, exchanging volleys until surrender. They struck with precision, with savagery, with intent to annihilate. Ships were torn apart in seconds. Escape pods were ignored. No survivors. Messages from the Council screamed for reinforcements, but every attempt at counterattack met only silence, until the stars themselves seemed to darken. Because when Earth's true fleets arrived, they arrived like storms. Entire skies blotted out by steel. Thousands of ships moving as one organism, not individuals. Discipline perfected. Patience weaponized. The galaxy had seen war, but it had never seen this. The council trembles, panic spread. For the first time in centuries, the council chamber fell silent as reports flooded in. World after world had gone dark. Communications severed. Fleets annihilated. Human war banners broadcast across the ruins. Captured transmissions showed Terran soldiers descending like shadows. Black-armored giants whose weapons sang in thunder. Entire garrisons surrendered without firing a shot. Others tried to resist, and were erased. The council screamed of treaties, of laws, of the sanctity of civilization. Earth answered with only one declaration, repeated across every hacked broadcast. You chose extinction. We answer in kind. The annihilation strikes, then came the retribution in full. On the fortress world of Kythera, humanity did not bother with ground war. They dropped tungsten rods from orbit, each strike carving craters the size of cities. Mountains shattered, oceans boiled. When the dust cleared, Kythera was a wasteland. On the industrial hive of Gorith, human fleets surrounded the planet and cut off every line of supply. For 6 months, they let the inhabitants starve. Then, when surrender signals came, the humans destroyed the planet anyway, silencing billions without a flicker of hesitation. On the Council's prized core worlds, fleets of Terran dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace with terrifying precision. They did not fire immediately. Instead, they filled comms with recordings of the massacred colonies, playing the screams of human children back to their killers. Only when the councilors broke into sobs did the human cannons fire, ripping capitals into molten rivers. It was not war. It was not conquest. It was vengeance. The galaxy watches in horror. Not every species had voted for human extinction. Some had opposed it. Others had abstained, fearing to anger the majority. Now, all watched in terror as humanity's vengeance swept across the stars. Entire fleets attempted to flee the carnage, retreating to distant sectors. But Earth's hunters followed, tracking them across light years, dragging them screaming into the fire. Neutral species begged for mercy, swearing they had no part in the Council's vote. Humanity ignored them. You sat silent as the order was passed, the Terrans declared. Silence is complicity. Complicity is guilt. And so the hammer fell on all. The fall of the Council itself, the grand chamber where humanity's fate had been sealed, did not survive the year. Terran fleets encircled the capital world, shutting down every defense, every attempt at negotiation. The last broadcast from the council chamber showed the once arrogant leaders trembling as the sky outside their window filled with human warships, their hulls glinting like obsidian knives. One counselor screamed into the comms, "We admit our mistake! Humanity, we were wrong. Spare us!" The human commander answered with a voice as cold as the void. "We were patient. You mistook it for weakness. You chose our extinction. We choose yours." The transmission ended in silence, broken only by the thunder of orbital bombardment, as the council world was erased from existence. Ashes and silence. The war, if it could be called a war, lasted only 18 months. 18 months to erase an empire that had lasted millennia. When the firestorms ended, the galaxy was left in silence. Burned husks of planets drifted in the dark. Council fleets lay in pieces, their wreckage circling dead suns, and among the survivors, a new phrase whispered from world to world: "Never provoke Earth again." Humanity had proven their patience vast. They had endured insults, mockery, even slaughter. But once patience ended, their vengeance was infinite. Epilogue. The lesson of Terra generations later, in the schools of distant worlds, children would still ask, why did no one stop them? Why did the council fall? And their teachers would answer, because we believed their silence was submission, because we thought their patience was weakness. And when the humans struck, it was not with anger, it was not with chaos, it was with cold, perfect, unrelenting vengeance. In the void between stars, where ruined planets still drift, the lesson lingers. Humanity is patient. Humanity forgives until it does not, and when patience ends, extinction follows.